Certain symbols and the meanings can change drastically over the course of time. The meaning of other symbols, like the handshake, have stayed relatively stable since 5th century BC, when it was employed as a gesture of peace. Still, other symbols have been around for so long that their original intent can be a surprise when you learn it. So here are 12 familiar ancient symbols you did not know the meaning of. 12. The Caduceus. The symbol of twin serpents entwined about a staff with wings is often used by medical and healthcare organizations. It's actually the staff of Hermes from Greek mythology, although by some accounts, the Caduceus dates back to around 4000 BC and has its roots in Mesopotamia, where it was linked to a Sumerian god. While the Caduceus has an ancient association with negotiation and commerce, it has been wrongly used as a symbol of the medical profession in North America. In fact, the Caduceus has been confused with the rod of Asclepius, which depicts only one snake and has no wings. Asclepius was the ancient Greek god of healing and medicine, so it makes sense that he provides the traditional symbol of such. The mistake was popularized after the U.S. Army Medical Corps adopted the Caduceus as their insignia in 1902. 11. The Petrine Cross, also known as the Cross of St. Peter. This is essentially an inverted or upside-down cross. Now, these days it's known more for providing an anti-religion message, but in the distant past, its meaning was just the opposite. The symbol's origin has roots in the Catholic tradition that St. Peter was crucified upside down. Because it's believed that Peter requested to be crucified in such a manner, the Petrine Cross became a symbol of humility, and that it became a powerful Christian symbol. More recently, the inverted cross has gained negative connotations due largely to the way it's been portrayed in popular media, including horror films like The Exorcist and The Omen. It's also been adopted by various punk rock and heavy metal cultures, where it is embraced as a symbol of defiance against authority. 10. All thumbs. You probably recognize the familiar thumbs up symbol because you see it nearly every day. Chances are you've given a thumbs up to a movie or Facebook posting recently yourself. Now, of course, there's also the thumbs down, which denotes a negative opinion. Both thumbs up and thumbs down can trace the origins to ancient Rome. As you likely know if you've ever seen a gladiator movie, the emperor would indicate a gladiator would live by delivering thumbs up, while thumbs down meant the fighter was finished. However, there are some scholars who argue that thumbs up actually meant killing the defeated combatant. A thumb wrapping around a closed fist signaled that the gladiator should live. 9. The V sign. There are several different meanings associated with this familiar gesture. A lot of us use it as a way to signal peace, and it's often identified with V for victory. It could even depict an ancient Roman ordering 5 drinks. Well, as you see, there are many interpretations, including some vulgar ones depending on where you live in the world, and that last one is especially true in the United Kingdom and Australia. According to tradition, the origin of the V sign can be traced to the 15th century, when English and Welsh archers, captured by the French, had the index and middle fingers chopped off so they could no longer operate the bows. Uncaptured and victorious archers would use the V sign to signify a defiance of the enemy, and that they still had all the digits. That account, though, has never been fully supported by historical primary sources. The first documented use of the V sign being used as an insult is said to have occurred in South Yorkshire, England, in 1901. 8. The Pentagram. Now, this familiar symbol tends to conjure up associations of black magic or summoning forth demon-like beings from other dimensions. Well, its origins stretch back to the Sumerians, who used the pentagram glyph as a logogram that represented the word ub, which had several meanings, including corner, cavity, or pitfall. In ancient times, it was used to represent the Christian symbol for the 5 senses, or for the 5 wounds of Christ. Its popularity as a magic symbol occurred during the Renaissance, when the pentagram's 5 points were associated with the 5 Neoplatonic elements. The pentagram has strong mathematical attributes. In geometry, it represents the simplest regular star polygon, and is also linked to the golden ratio. 7. The heart shape. Now, these days, that shape is a universal symbol for love, often expressed with the ideograph, I heart you. While it is strongly identified with romance and Valentine's Day, it carried a much different connotation in ancient Greece. The traditional heart shape was connected to the plant called silphium. It's a species of giant fennel plant that was often used as a medicine in antiquity. It was used to treat all types of afflictions, including aches, pains, fever, and indigestion. Some experts think it may have also been used as a contraceptive to prevent or to terminate pregnancies. Silver coins from as far back as the 6th century depict a heart-shaped design that is often accompanied by a silphium plant and is intended to portray its fruit or seed, some of which in the silphium family have a heart-like shape. 6. Sign of the horns. Back in the day, rocker Ronnie James Dio popularized the use of this symbol in the late 1970s, and it's been a staple of any heavy metal concert ever since. But the use of this gesture predates heavy metal thunder by ages, and it did not necessarily always have a connection to the devil. The sign can actually be beneficial. In Italy, it's known as the Corna. Often with the fingers pointed downward, it's used to ward off the malocchio, or evil eye. It's also used by those seeking good luck in bad circumstances, not unlike knocking on wood. Conversely, if the fingers are pointed upward, it can be taken in a vulgar context. 5. The barber's pole. Back in medieval times, barbers did a lot more than simply cut your hair and shave your beard. They often performed surgery on the customers, in addition to extracting teeth and providing enemas. Their primary surgical approach was bloodletting. That was based on a belief that illness could be released by bleeding it out of the patient. The messy technique involved the use of leeches, which were kept in a wash basin at the top of the pole. A basin at the bottom of the pole collected the blood. Now, the actual pole itself represents the staff that the patient gripped, while leeches were applied to encourage that blood flow. The barber pole's familiar helix features red stripes, symbolic of blood, and white stripes, symbolic of bandages. 4. The OK sign. Now, this gesture is extremely familiar in the US and in North America. It's a form of non-verbal communication, which is synonymous with the word OK. It denotes agreement, approval, or a sense that everything is going well. Outside of the US, though, the gesture can have negative or offensive connotations. While it may not signify anything at all in some countries, other regions, such as Middle and Central Europe, could find the gesture inflammatory. In France and Belgium, it can mean zero or worthless. Other countries, from Turkey and Greece to Brazil and other parts of South America, might find the gesture particularly vulgar. And in the Arab world, it can connote the evil eye and be used as a curse. If you plan on using this gesture while traveling around the world, just stay mindful of your location and you should be okay. 3. Star of David. Depicted on the flag of the State of Israel, the Star of David is perhaps the most widely acknowledged symbol of Judaism and the Jewish people. Unlike the menorah or other symbols in Judaism, the Star of David does not have origins that are uniquely Jewish. In fact, it has appeared in Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. The Hindus may have used the symbol the longest. It appears as the षट्कोण, which symbolizes both the masculine and feminine form, and as the Anahata, or heart chakra. Hexagrams can be described as two equilateral triangles that are compounded to form that shape, and they appear in many places around the world. It's thought the symbol was adopted by Judaism sometime in the 11th century, but it didn't become the official symbol of the Jewish community until 1897. 2. Skull and crossbones. Now, this forbidding symbol has a couple of established meanings that most of us can recognize. You'll often find this symbol emblazoned on containers of poisonous materials. It's a way of alerting customers that there are chemicals or other substances that are not to be ingested. The other symbolic meaning is linked to pirates, of course, especially the Jolly Roger. Now, their flag is often shown displaying the skull and crossbones insignia, but in fact, most pirates preferred to fly flags that displayed their own personal designs. Experts say it became linked to piracy in the 14th century, but the earliest documented appearance of the distinctive design dates to the 12th century, when it was adopted by the Knights Templar to identify ships within the Great Fleet. It was also used to mark the entrances to graveyards and cemeteries, and some experts think it was this macabre association that made the feared symbol so attractive to pirates in the first place. 1. The peace symbol. Inextricably linked to the counterculture movement of the 1960s, you could not find a hippie that left home without one. While a lot of the symbols on the list have ancient origins, this one was actually created in 1958 by a man in England named Gerald Holtham. The designer intended it to symbolize nuclear disarmament in Britain. Holtham says his drawing depicts a man, himself actually, with his arms stretched out and downwards. He combined the semaphore letters for N and D for nuclear disarmament. After some additional stylization, he drew a circle around it, and voila! The symbol was never trademarked, copyrighted, or restricted, so it became widely adopted, especially by those in the anti-war movement. It eventually came to symbolize freedom and peace, which is always in. So with that, peace out.